national program officers, and their leaders, and the representatives of teacher education and teacher training institutions, their technology solution maker, LTD consultants, and the all protocols observed. Welcome to this validation workshop that will last for 2 hours. So as I highlighted, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. You have obviously received the validation and these sessions schedule or agenda, but that will slightly change because of the difficulties we are experiencing. And allow me to start presenting how we will go about this validation to cope with that difficulty we are experiencing now. So we will start with the introduction of this session, and that's what I'm doing actually. And then we were supposed to receive opening remarks by the director of the Institute for International, the UNESCO Institute for International Capacity Building in Africa. But for the time being, she's not able to join due to technical difficulty, and hopefully she will be able to provide the closing remarks when the issue is addressed. And then there will be presentation of technology solution maker LTD's consultants. Then there will be constructive feedback. We start with constructive feedback from the Harare office, which will be presented in absentia. And then we move to colleagues from Dakar. They provide their constructive feedback. Then we go to invite the LMS administrator to provide his constructive feedback. And also, then we end up with the constructive feedback from the reviewers from the headquarters. And then we will open the session for constructive feedback from the audience. And then there will be a summary of constructive feedback by Technology Solution Maker LTD. And hopefully, by this time, the director of ICMBA will have joined to provide closing remarks. So we would like to, again, to invite you to write your names and the organizations you are representing in the chat box so that we know who is participating in this session. And to access the chat box, please click on the message icon at the bottom of this session screen or window. If you have any question anytime, please type it in the chat box so that it is later on addressed. And again, I would like to remind you, as long as you are not speaking, please keep your microphones in the mute mode and do not switch on your video so that you can have high quality experience in this session. So the session will last for 1 hour. It will last for 2 hours, and it is supposed to last till 4 p.m. East African time. I think that will be 1 p.m. GMT. So again, thank you very much. And I would like to give the floor to Technology Solution Maker LTD consultants for your presentation of the finding. Jean-Claude, if you can hear me, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bernard, for this brief introduction about this validation workshop. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well, loud and clear. Please proceed.
Very great. So as you introduced it already, so this validation workshop is about a study on situation analysis of LMS in public teacher education institutions and teacher training institutions across sub-Saharan Africa in the 24 countries of the O3 program. And we are going only to summarize the findings of this study as consultants. So without delaying, as an outline, we are going to briefly tell you about the introduction of this, and then we go for the objectives and then we talk a little bit about the
Jean-Claude, if you allow, let me ask Monsieur Touré Ribassi. Monsieur Touré Ribassi,
Oui.
Veuillez, s'il vous plaît, désactiver votre microphone. Jean-Claude, over to you again. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah. So then, after theoretical foundation, we talk about the scope of this situation analysis, and then we brief you about the methodology that has been used to come up with the findings, and then we brief you about the results and how they were analyzed, and then the recommendations that were put forward as per the findings, and then we conclude this presentation. So without delaying, as part of introduction, the provision of a kind of high quality scalable education program, which can where many people can access from different areas of Africa, can be effective through a collaboration with public teacher training or teacher education institutions. This is a rationale. This is a line of UNESCO ICBA saying that to be able to provide this scalable education program, including comprehensive sexuality education, it can be also only effective if we have a good collaboration with these types of institutions from different countries. And this is also inspired by the O3 program, which is an UNESCO ICBA program, which aim at supporting these scalable education or training programs to be able to reach as many people as possible to benefit this kind of training. So, so to enable this scalable provision of these education programs, learning management systems or LMSs from these teacher training institutions may be used across sub-Saharan Africa as a way of technology adoption to support this kind of scalable provision of education programs. Of course, when you target a large scale of population. So, then here comes an issue of which LMSs that can support, because there are so many LMSs that have been really integrated in Africa to support education in general and also to support these kind of trainings related to well-being and health-related education. But which LMSs are capable to support this and from which countries, as well as also how to go with the use of those LMSs. What should be considered to make sure that a particular LMS from a particular country can support the provision of these scalable education programs. So then here comes the objectives of this situation analysis of LMS. So one of the key objectives of this study was to identify the LMSs that are really capable to support this type of scalable health education program, including, of course, education. And then another objective was to inform the collaboration based on the findings. As far as those LMSs are concerned, then we inform the collaboration in innovative practices for supporting this scalable teacher capacity development to be able to deliver quality CSE in sub-Saharan Africa. The next objective was to generate a list of recommendations for regional, national, or even institutional collaboration to implement the O3 program as far as the delivery and the provision of health-related education programs are concerned. Then next, this study also aimed at informing technical advice, which is provided by the African Union towards the robust and scalable CSE delivery and other related health-related education programs. So as a theoretical foundation, this study was mainly based on a theory that ICT can really be a tool to deliver a scalable online blended and distance learning programs as far as you are aiming at, reaching a big number of people from different countries. So we consider ICT as a tool, and also we consider these teacher training institutions or teacher education institutions as the engines when they have a good technology. As we consider them as engines that can facilitate in the provision of these pre-service and in-service teacher training. So then, by these TTI or TAIs being capable to provide this type of support in delivering scalable online or blended learning education programs, we consider the institution to have very good or well-equipped or quality LMSs that can help in the implementation of these health-related education programs. So then, by understanding this, then we keep in mind that different LMSs in different sub-Saharan Africa have been implemented at a different scale, at different level. So then there comes an interest to understand or to explore how these LMSs are implemented as per today, and see how they can really be like the tools that can support the delivery of a scalable online and blended learning programs in as far as these health-related programs are concerned. So from literature, we identified that there are so many LMSs in place in different African countries, and some of them have been even being used for supporting health and well-being related programs. Even some of them have been focusing on training, providing training on comprehensive sexuality education. But this is just from the literature. And then we wanted to, to organize our work in a kind of a scope so that we cannot cover all the African continent. But as far as this study was concerned, only 24 countries from the O3 program were considered as an area or as a limitation to our study. So then, this work also started by working on an inscription report, and then which has been submitted to UNESCO ICPA for review. And then after the inscription report, we went to develop data collection tools, and then we collected data, we analyzed the data, and then we came up with a report which needs some of your feedback. And the reason why we have this validation workshop, we think that a final report would include also the feedback and recommendation from the audience from this kind of validation workshop. So as I said, 24 countries from the O3 program were taken into consideration for this study. And the focus also was on public institutions that normally offer in-service teacher training or pre-service teacher education. And we're considering both secondary and tertiary education. So in terms of population, as far as the people are concerned for this study, we were interested in asking or talking with the people who have some kind of linkage with the LMS in different institutions. So we're considering the managers of the units or center that are in charge of online distance and e-learning in different institutions that we identified. And also we consider the LMS administrators as the key people who may know about the situation of their LMSs. Also, as far as the pedagogical perspective is concerned, we were also interested in talking with the e-learning officers or instructional designers from different institutions that took part in this study. And also we consider the pre-service or in-service teachers, who we may maybe consider them as beneficiaries. We also consider them to have their say on this study so that we can come with inclusive findings. So as far as the sampling is concerned, both purposive sampling and snowball sampling were applied to be able to identify the population to participate in this study. And we were aiming at getting a maximum of 4 public institutions in each country which was considered. And so which means that we're aiming at collecting data from 96 institutions or 96 LMSs, and at least a minimum of 24 LMSs, at least an LMS from each country, which is concerned for this study. So, and in addition to this, a particular interest was on LMSs that already offer this comprehensive sexuality education program. So, the institutional sampling was mainly based on some strata or some variables. As I said earlier, we consider the public institutions so that they may be considered for collaboration with UNESCO ICPA. And then we're classifying this sample considering that an institution at least has been providing in service or service teacher education or training, and or institutions that have at least an LMS that is used for online and learning. And also we consider the institution in terms of their size, considering small, medium, and large, and also the institutional type. And here we're considering institutions that are training both male and female teachers in service or pre-service teachers. And also a particular interest is put on institutions that support social needs. That means in case we are going to identify learners, they should be supported with that kind of LMSs. So as quantitative techniques whereby survey questionnaires were developed and tested before they are administered.
Jean-Claude, hello, Jean-Claude, can you hear me?
Yes.
We had some difficulties hearing what we're saying, but so may I ask maybe Monsieur Toure, can you switch off your video, please? Can you switch off the camera, please? That may improve the quality of the voice. So we lost your voice. Yes, Jean-Claude,
Yes.
Jean-Claude, if you hear me, can you speak?
Yes, can you hear me now, Bernard?
Yes, it's better now. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. I was just saying that as techniques for data collection, we used a preliminary desk review, trying to identify different kind of elements that are considered for a quality elements that can support a scalable education program. And then we used both quantitative and qualitative techniques, whereby survey questionnaires were used, administered to different identified participants from different institutions. And also we have been undertaking some follow-up online interviews using, of course, different video conference tools to try to explore more in deep and look at which LMS can be recommended for a scalable online education programs. So so the survey questionnaire was divided into different sections, as you can see. And for your information, because we're targeting both English and French-speaking countries, we developed 2 versions of the survey questionnaire, and it was divided into 6 sections, as you can see on the slide. And we're mainly focusing on understanding the enabling infrastructure in place, the LMS that is implemented currently, and the training or the facilitations, barriers and challenges related to the LMS use. And also we were trying to explore the outcomes, challenges, and impact that an LMS may have had previously. And also we're asking different participants about what they could recommend for improvement so that, you know, a very good LMS could be put in place to support a scalable delivery or provision of health-related education programs. So we also developed an interview protocol to be used as a follow-up, and it used the same aspect as in the survey questionnaire. So as a follow-up approach, we use, of course, some emails to remind people to respond to our surveys and requesting people to participate in our follow-up interviews. And WhatsApp also was very much used in this study. And then also we have been using some internet search, whereby we didn't find enough information from a particular institution. We went on for internet search to try to identify the current LMSs that a particular institution is using. So this is a framework for analyzing the data that we collected. This is the framework that we used. That means the findings that we have corrected were clustered into 4 main categories, apart from respondent background. So we categorized, or we clustered our findings into 4 main themes or categories. So we're interested in understanding the institutional LMS by looking at its level of interoperability with other communication channels, and also the accessibility on mobile devices. We want to see how these LMS can be also accessible on mobile devices by learners. And also we wanted to understand also the people and their functional structure, to see how this category also can be an indicator of a very good LMS that can support scalable education programs. So then we were also interested in understanding the technological infrastructure as well, such as the internet bandwidth at the particular institutions, and the bandwidth subscription fee, the level of paying this subscription fee, and also the LMS level of security that can ensure that the delivery of health-related programs are concerned. So then we wanted also to hear about the experience, impact, and risk, associated with the identified LMSs. So without delaying too much, I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Christine, to brief you about the main findings of this situation analysis. Thank you very much. Christine, over to you.
Thank you, Jean-Claude. Regarding the results, I start by presenting the respondents' background. We have seen that 23% of respondents belongs to female gender, and 77% belongs to male. And we have seen that 27% of respondents are pre or in-service teachers. 32 respondents were managers of LMSs, and 27% were either e-learning officers or instruction designers. And finally, 14% of respondents are LMS administrators. Regarding countries that were able to provide input or to respond, we have 18 countries, actually 19 countries. We have 14 countries from English-speaking part of Africa, and we have 5 countries that belongs to French-speaking countries. So regarding respondents among 19 countries, actually one of the country informed that they have no LMS, therefore they could not provide input, but at least they have provided feedback to us. So you can go to next slide, please. So regarding the 4 thematics or 4 clusters that findings were grouped into, I will start by analyzing the institutional LMS. So the analysis of institution LMS showed that among 17 institutions that were able to provide full information, 5 of them are from French-speaking countries, and 12 of them are from English-speaking countries. So we have 2 LMSs, which are Antenne de la pédagogie et de la formation de Daouklu, and the other for inspection de l'enseignement préscolaire et primaire, which were proprietary LMSs. It means that they pay some subscription fee regularly to have access to such LMSs, whereas 15 LMSs were based on open source, and they mostly used, I think, well-known Moodle LMS. So LMSs from 11 countries, 3 from French-speaking countries and 8 from English-speaking countries. And also, we have seen that these LMSs from 11 countries, they use SMS, phone call, WhatsApp, at least to reach out to their users, and they have some level of integration. So you can go to next. When it comes to accessibility on mobile devices, all the LMSs that we've been able to collect, they are available on mobile devices. These are like smartphone, tablets, and others. So as we were looking for LMSs from different institutions in different countries, some of the institutions provided half of the or partial response. Then we had to look for extra information from internet. In that case, we've been able to find 6 institutions that were running LMSs, and they are given in the following table. And these 6 institutions were running LMS under Moodle. However, it was difficult to find out whether they are hosting on-premise or any other details regarding the LMSs. So regarding the other thematic, which is around the people and personnel in the institutions, we have seen that timely pedagogical and technical support provision, that about 4 LMSs or 4 institutions out of the 17 that are able at least to provide the support within 24 hours. For others, it's beyond the 24 hours. Actually, this shows us like how, dynamic the LMS available in institution is active. So regarding the availability of the administrator, which is also a good feature, we have seen that out of 17 institutions, only 12 have administrators. So regarding the training,
so Christine, if I may, please allow me to interrupt. I can see in the chat forum there are people who have been mentioning that they cannot see the slides. So tell me, everyone, can you see the slides they are presenting? Are they moving, or are you still stuck on the first slide?
Yeah, we're receiving them well.
All right. Okay, so it's going well. Would you confirm, please? Okay, I can see Sandy. Has he posted that he couldn't see that?
Okay, I can see it. I can see it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, please. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry for the inconvenience. Christine, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I was talking about the people and the personnel that are in charge of the LMS. So in 17 institutions, we have seen that 13 out of 17 have instruction design or e-learning officers. This shows us that they have some people who are able to design the content, to upload it, and so on. So regarding the availability of an office, which is dedicated for open and e-learning, we have seen that 13 institutions out of 17 actually have a such office. You can go to next slide, please. So regarding the third thematic, which is about technological infrastructure, so we were checking on sufficiency of internet bandwidth, which is a critical part of the features that allow someone to access LMS. We have seen that 5 institutions host on the cloud and 12 institutions host on the premise. We have seen that actually for hosting, for institutions that host in the cloud, the issue of internet bandwidth is not in their responsibility, since this is provided by the internet or the cloud service provider. Therefore, this was assumed to be something that is having no difficulty, something that is sufficient. However, for premise hosting, there is a need to take care of the bandwidth that institutions is subscribed to, how big it is, because all the learners, all the users will be accessing the LMS through the internet, through the same node of the institution. So regarding the 12 institutions that host on a premise, we have seen that the minimum internet bandwidth, which is 50 Mbps, most of them they do have. However, they find a need for increase. And this also goes with the number of users. So regarding the subscription fee, we have seen that this is also of interest for institutions that host on a premise. So the 12 institutions, we have seen that 3 of them pays above 3,000 USD every month for internet subscriptions. Others, they pay very less, so probably due to different reasons, few number of users. This is pretty related to number of users that are using the LMSs. So regarding the security, we've seen that most of the institutions or LMSs, they are using SSL certificate, which is a good tool, and they do regular backups just in case. Understand that this is automatic provided for all cloud hosting LMSs. So only 2 institutions have no means of security. Probably they could not reveal that. So we can go to the next and the 4th thematic, which is about experience, the impact that LMS has had in the institutions, some challenges that currently are there, and risks that might be associated with that LMSs. So at this particular thematic, we've been looking for how previously LMSs has been used in delivering comprehensive sexuality education. And we've seen that about 10 institutions actually are running online and distance courses, including CSE. So 7 institutions say that they do not have such program, comprehensive sexuality education. And regarding the impact in terms of how many teachers have been trained for the past 2 years, 4 institutions revealed that they've trained teachers ranging from 10,000 to 50,000, and 12 institutions trained less than 1,000. And 7 institutions could not reveal how many teachers how many teachers were trained for the past 2 years. So regarding the satisfaction of previous trained teachers, we've seen that 17 institutions were somewhat satisfactory. So this is information from teachers that were trained. And regarding challenges and risks, challenges were mainly associated with 4 points: the infrastructure. In terms of ICT, this is internet, device access, the basic infrastructure in terms of electricity, which was on and off in some of the institutions, and some other challenges related to LMS itself, like access, like support, live support, at least in less than 24 hours. And the last challenge is more on policy and the structure within the institutions, whereby they do not have a proper way to use like ICT or to use LMS in teaching and learning. So we went even further to look for any other platform in these countries that we've been looking into. We've been able to identify another platform that is used for training, for professional development, for health professionals and health workers. And we were looking for how this can be related or can be used for training teachers as well, since we see the trend is more or less the same. So we looked at a WhatsApp platform in Kenya, which is delivered by PSI Kenya, and this is based on Moodle, and it's a WhatsApp platform but interoperable with Moodle. And learners who are professional and health workers were able to, for 1 year, were able to get trainings and get certified using this WhatsApp platform. So we can go to next slide. So regarding the analysis of the findings, as I said previously, we have 4 thematics or clusters that have enablers under each cluster as it's given there, and every enabler is given a score, and the scores from all the participants were calculated, and we came up with averages which allowed us to rank institutional LMS by LMSs. We can go to next slide, please. So when we ranked according to the scores of different thematics and enablers, we have seen a list of institutions according to their grades. You can go to the next slide. And we've been able to find a very fast 6 institutions or LMSs in the English-speaking region or speaking countries. And they are aligned here. We have Mutale Teacher College, we have Rwanda Basic Education, we have University of Rwanda, we have TVTC. In Zambia, we have Namibia College of Open Learning, and we have Universidade Eduardo Mondlane from Mozambique. We do also have 5 countries in the region that speaks French, and they are given in the table. We have Institut de Formation des Maîtres au Mali. We have Université Joseph Kizerbo in Burkina Faso. We have Antenne de la Pédagogie et de la Formation de Daoukru in Ivory Coast. We have Direction nationale de l'enseignement normal du ministère de l'Éducation nationale au Mali. And we have Institut de Formation verte et à distance in Burkina Faso. So if you go to next slide, please. So we have some limitation in our study. For those LMSs we found on the web search, we were limited to get detailed information in terms of hosting, in terms of security, but at least we were able to see which LMS is there. Could it be Moodle? Could it be any other LMSs? So also the truthfulness on some of the questions, like when you ask a manager, like how long time it takes to provide feedback, is it 24 hours? Is it 48? Is it, things like that? It may happen that some respondent may just provide very short time just to show that institutions is very quick to give feedback or to respond to support users. So in terms of also physical investigation, this is like face-to-face data collection, which was not possible due to this pandemic of COVID-19. And also some of the respondents were not able to respond from different institutions due to different reasons. That one, such respondent category does not exist there. So for example, personnel in charge of e-learning officer or instruction design is not available, or maybe he's there, but he's not able to respond. So those are few study limitations that could have affected some of the results. So regarding the conclusion, as we have seen 6 LMS or 6 institutions from English-speaking countries and 5 LMSs or 5 institutions from French-speaking countries, that we recommend as the first to be in collaboration with Equiba to provide the scalable, comprehensive sexuality education. We have to say that every institution has its own limitation that potentially must be catered so that the collaboration, is smooth. So there must be also a plan for managing the high impact that could be from risks that we've been able to elaborate in the study. So mostly LMS from French-speaking region need more attention, especially in terms of infrastructure, ICT infrastructure, as well as the basic infrastructure, and also LMS upgrade, as well as the capacity building for technical and pedagogical staff. There is a need also to integrate LMS with other tools just to be able to reach as many users as possible, especially low technology ND devices like phones, feature phones, and so on. So I think this is the end of my presentation, and I thank you, and I welcome discussion and questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine, for the presentation. Christine and Jean-Claude for that presentation you made, and for the study you have conducted. So before I move to the feedback session, I would like to double check. I could see that Xavier had mentioned that he may be able to, he will be able to leave the session for 30 minutes. And probably we may want to change the order. If Xavier, is Xavier still in the session? I can see he's on hold. Otherwise, we'll be taking anytime the feedback is going to be provided, but the order may change again. So let me start with, again, thanking you for this presentation and the study you have conducted. And we start presenting the feedback from Harare office, which is presented in absentia. So I will be reading the feedback they provided for you to consider. And I also, all the feedback that will be received from different offices will be compiled and then emailed to you after this session, maybe in the next couple of days, but very soon, so that you start working on them or using them in the preparation of the final report. So this is the feedback from Harare office, with credit to our colleague Don from Harare office, who read the report and provided this constructive feedback. And Don is an ICT and education specialist for the office, so it makes sense really for that he's the one who read the report and provided this feedback, and so it comes from an expert. So this is how the feedback is framed. I'm going to read the literally. This research is comprehensive and interesting read for anyone with a passion for contemporary modern strategies used in teacher education or training. Learning management systems should allow institutions to develop learning ecosystem that fit their context and accelerate learning activities. These make the WhatsApp initiative in Kenya impressive and quite refreshing to see. Considering how infrastructure issues, including data and devices, are rampant in sub-Saharan Africa, the use of WhatsApp as an LMS show innovation and adaptability. Possibly, there's an opportunity here to replicate and scale this model in other sub-Saharan contexts where WhatsApp has proven to be popular and cost-effective platform. It is encouraging to note that several institutions are making effective use of learning management systems. An issue of presence or lack thereof of instructional designer in the institutions was mentioned, but I think it needs more emphasis. The role of an instructional designer is a connecting role between subject experts, such as comprehensive sexuality education experts and IT experts, such as LMS administrators. Instructional designers are conversant with the capability of devices to be used and also have a good knowledge of the LMS, while at the same time having teaching skills to be able to make suggestions and guide the subject and guide the subject experts, who is often solely responsible for the content. Instructional designers help the content experts to storyboard the course, construct the detailed week-to-week plan, and link together the sequences of activities. Example, video documents to read, or videos, example, videos, documents to read, homework, etc. It may have been interesting in this study to find out if there are designers who have taken comprehensive sexuality education qualification or comprehensive sexuality education experts with supplemental qualification in instructional design or any other parts or any other type of learning. Regardless, instructional designer skills or some form of online learning or teaching skills should now be critical to teacher education curriculum, regardless of the subject of specialty. And surprisingly, some institutions are still trying to figure out the most effective and efficient use of LMS, and others which have either not implemented or not considered implementing LMSs. Some common problems still present. Some common problems are still present in institutions. Examples are lack of technical skills, low bandwidth, failure to customize LMS, user rejection of systems, etc. Although all these issues are bundled together in the report, it may be important to understand that a one-size-fits-all solution recommendation may not exist for all institutions. For example, where Moodle may work for one institution, it may not work for another. And therefore, any recommendation or solution should be a case-by-case basis. Some other possible suggestions include the following. Number one, development of communities of practice for teachers and teacher educators or training institutions in Sub-Saharan Africa. Both teachers, trainers, and e-learning and ICT experts can and should learn from one another based on their experience. A community of practice which can manifest through a dedicated platform or portal can allow for such exchange to take place. And the second additional recommendation is the twinning or pairing of institutions. It is clear from this research that some institutions are doing relatively well and others are not. A developmental consideration would be to pair well-performing institutions with underperforming institutions so that the area would help the latter develop best practices in the use of LMS or for teacher education training. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the comments from Harare office, and we are very grateful to them. And these comments will be emailed again to consultants so that they consider them in developing the final report. So, Jean-Claude, I can see you. Do you have any quick reaction on those comments? Maybe like in 1 or 2 minutes, or do you want that I proceed? Maybe you have a quick reaction on them at the end after all offices have provided feedback.
Thank you, Bernard. It was just a quick reaction on those comments. I'm really very much delighted with the fact that he considered instructional design as to be taken really as important aspect to make sure the courses that are learning online should have a kind of a storyboarding that's really done in a pedagogical way to ensure that we are providing the right training to the beneficiaries. Just a quick reaction. Thank you very much. And we'll be happy to receive those comments in our inbox so we can incorporate them in our final report.
All right, thank you very much, Jean-Claude. Let me check again if Xavier is back. Xavier, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back.
All right,
Most sincere apologies for not being able to follow the whole meeting. In fact,
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
3 meetings going on simultaneously.
Yeah.
So, is it the time for me to provide the feedback?
Yes, please. If you are ready, this should be your turn.
Okay, I will try, and apologies if I mention issues that have been raised by my colleagues. I have not been able to listen to them. First of all, I think the report is very interesting. It provides very interesting and useful insights on learning management systems, and I'm not an expert at all in this area, and it is highly readable, and it helps understanding key priorities, challenges, aspects that have to be taken into consideration. So reading the report for me has been a learning experience, which is very positive. I think the report unfortunately suffers from a very major limitation, which is linked to the sample and number of interviewees. I'm sure this has been raised before, but I think it reaches the point where most of the conclusions have to be taken with a very high level of caution. For many institutions, several key informants could not be interviewed, and it reaches the point where we really ask ourselves, can the information that is available be sufficient to describe the different learning management systems we have in the countries and reach some solid conclusions? I think that is a question that needs to be explicitly answered in the report. I think, in my opinion, and apologies to be this direct and frank, but it is the responsibility of the consultants to ensure that we have enough answers, and it is not enough to say that we have sent reminders. But extra steps must be taken to ensure that we have enough data, in my opinion. Otherwise, the whole exercise might be in jeopardy. I think there is one aspect where we have insisted from the beginning it would be important to have good information, which is how interactive can be the learning management systems, because comprehensive sexuality education is an area in which student-centered, active learning, teaching and learning methods are absolutely key. And this aspect is considered very lightly, unless I have missed it in the report. And it is a bit of a pity, because it is absolutely central for the topic at hand. And if learning management systems which already exist do not have that capacity per se, it is a very important conclusion for us to know about. And it is very important for us to understand how we can overcome the kinds of limitations that current learning management systems may have. I was, to be honest, I was surprised to see two institutes from Burkina Faso recommended to be learning management systems that we could scale up to work on comprehensive sexuality education, considering that for so many data we didn't have any information. So for so many indicators, we did not have any data on the learning management systems in Burkina Faso. So I think it would be good for the report to further explain why the country is considered into this list of potential platforms we could be working with, where the data comes and how we can consider that data sufficiently good and complete to reach that conclusion. I think this is related to my first point. So probably what I think the report is quite clear as well about potential risks and challenges regarding the use of learning management systems, including risk for French-speaking countries that are related to low bandwidth and insufficient infrastructures. The question I have when I finish the report is learning management systems, learning management systems, a good idea at all in the context of training teachers on comprehensive sexuality education? I think we understand the need to invest in that area. We cannot not be doing it, or at least try, but also I think we need to be extra, absolutely need to take into account all the real limitations, because internet-based learning management systems are not the only solutions. And we, in order to make enlightened choices, informed choices about the solutions we must work with to train teachers, considering existing infrastructures, we have to be very clear about the potential, but also the limitation of each possibility. Knowing that besides that, there is radio, there is WhatsApp-based systems which have been nicely addressed in the report. I really appreciated that part of the report. There are TV, radio, and other possibilities, working with keys and other systems. So that's about it. Thank you again for the very highly readable report. I think more information on the issues that I've raised would help understanding where the report reaches strong conclusions and where the conclusions need to be taken with more caution due to a huge lack of data that affects somehow the strength of the conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Xavier. And probably before maybe you are still here, Xavier, but in case you may need to go. So I want to double check with you, Xavier. Some of the written feedback will be emailed to me. Is that correct?
Sorry, say again?
So the feedback, is there any feedback document that will be emailed to me so that I put together? And
yes, I can do a quick summary of this.
Yes, that would be helpful. And this is to make sure at the same time also consultants from Technology Solution Maker Ltd. I hope you are taking notes of those even those feedback, even though we send them to you. But it's very important also that you take notes and you start processing those very important, critical, but constructive, very constructive feedback you are receiving. And I'm very positive if you take into consideration those feedback. So the quality of your report will be improved. So if we look at the schedule, let's see if Jose, if you can hear me. I saw you send some message just now.
Yes, Bernard, I'm there.
Yeah, are you ready to present the feedback?
Yes, I can come in now.
So maybe let me highlight that Jose also is our colleague from ICBA, but also based in Dakar. But he's an interesting kind of review and feedback provider because he has that experience in learning management system management, also based on Moodle, which is the platform most of the learning management system found are based. So Jose presents not only as a colleague, but as someone who have that first-hand experience with those learning management system. So Jose, the floor is yours for your feedback.
Okay, Bernard, thank you to give the floor to me. As Bernard said, I'm Jose Edmond-Nekufoso. I am ICBA representative for Sahel region, so I'm located in UNESCO office in Dakar. I support ICBA work in many areas, including ICT in education. And as such, I am, as Bernard said, the ICBA Learning Management System Administrator. I appreciate I read and appreciate the report that have made it possible to map the learning management system in 24 African sub-Saharan countries and identify which of those learning management systems are efficient enough to support teaching in the area of health and well-being and other areas, again, also for teachers, and also to come out with guidance for collaboration, for experience sharing, and for scaling up and sustaining those good practices. So I would like to make some comments as per LMS administrator point of view. Yeah, the report is comprehensive, and I'm also pleased that I've got the chance to support the designing of some tools that have been used. So I can see that the analysis has been aligned on the questions that we elaborated. So it is very comprehensive. I would just like to make some small comments as Bernard asked me to do as learning management system administrator. I would like first to highlight the fact that the report will get in value by trying to address more clearly the key actors who are involved in an online learning ecosystem. In the online learning ecosystem, in addition to the LMS or the platform, around this platform we have many actors, and as it was indicated in the questionnaire, it is good that in the final result it appears also clearly the role and how those actors are involved in those in this management in order to improve the quality or the final result or the learning outcomes. So in addition to the learning management administrator, we have around this system, we have the technical staff. I mean, those who are in charge of elaborating, in charge of development of the platform, his hosting. So all this should be clearly highlighted in the document. So in addition to that, another actor are instructional designer. I mean, those who are responsible of the development of the pedagogical aspects. Yes, in the report we have some recommendations related to them, but I think also some aspects this can be improved. Also concerning teachers, I mean those who are content owner in LMS, in addition to this technical and instructional design, you also have teachers who are those who own the content. Yes, they also should be addressed properly. And at the lastly, the LMS administrator is the one who is in charge of managing the interactions between each of the actor and the LMS, as well as the interaction between those actors. So I will just quickly display the key or the key challenges that exist at the various steps of online learning projects, and how this have been addressed in the report, and then also suggest some improvement that can be considered to improve the quality of the report. At the level of platform design, development, and hosting, yes, there I think the idea is the challenge there is to ensure that the proper configuration of the domain name and hosting server is done. So it will be good that in the final report, as it is done, to clearly precise the types of type of software that are used, either they are open source or not. This could make it easier for institutions who need to develop their own LMS to make a proper choice according to their budget or according to the staff or the competence skills they have. Also, the question related to the bandwidth, yes, this also is highlighted and should be and is very useful. Another aspect is at this level of the development of the platform itself is the number of connected or number of concurrent users. Those are aspects that are very useful for institutions who want to deploy learning management systems for their university. So they have to consider the number of learners they have and consider the solution that they have to use to ensure that they would be able to get all of them online and also able to manage them at the same time. If they have to be connected at the same time. If they have to ensure that the characteristics of the platform is proper enough to support that. So now at the level of content design, development, and the validation, at that level also the learning, the LMS administrator works together with the content, with the instructional designer and the content owner, and there the challenge is to ensure that the content design is available in many formats, to ensure that the content can be used offline, to ensure that it is properly structured, to ensure that the pedagogy use is kind of active pedagogy that help learners to support their peers, and also that help them to be really involved. So those are aspects that are highlighted in the report. But I think that we should clearly specify in which extent the LMS are really taking into account those aspects. Another aspect is related to the monitoring of the learners who are enrolled. This is the key. I think I can say the key aspects or the key steps in online learning project, because we all know that the main challenge in online learning project is to keep learners enrolled or to keep learners online till the end of the project. So how do the platform, which are the mechanisms set up to ensure that, or to prevent the dropout, which are the mechanisms? So in the report also I've seen some of them, but we can also add many of them in terms of recommendation. Yes, to ensure that learners can be keep in touch, or that we can connect them through many channels that are nowadays available, through mails, through social media, through phone, or many other that consultants can also discover in their own area. And now also another aspect that we indicated in the survey or in the questions is the one related to evaluation and certification. We know that online also another problem at the level of evaluation and certification is how do we proceed to prevent cheating? Yes, when we are in face-to-face environment, the teacher is there maybe to ensure that the results or the work is personally done. But when it is online, how do we make sure that student is the one who is delivering the work that is submitted. So also this study also is supposed to be to clearly highlight how the learning management systems are taking into account those aspects. And finally, the last aspect also that I'm looking forward to have it clearly is the recognition and graduation. Is the institution, which is the value that institution is giving to the marks that is got in those online learning systems, are they taken into account in the graduation process? And at that level also we can see the report how they are working at the at the level of institutional arrangement at the policy level. And this is also aspect that the learning management system administrator work together with institution to ensure that policy, required policy and institutional arrangement are done to make sure that the marks or the records, the marks that are got online can be also taken into account in the graduation process. So very quickly, I've just go through the aspects I've seen through the report. I wanted that they will be clearly highlighted. So those are aspects as from LMS administrator perspective that have to be clearly highlighted and in the report to ensure that the learning management system we are going to recommend in countries will efficiently and effectively contribute to the teaching and learning, and it contribute also to the quality of the learning in the area of health and well-being, and also in the other areas where teachers need support. So Bernard, thank you for giving the floor to me. I give the floor back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose, for those feedback you provided. Again, all these feedback are very important and should be considered. And of course, if some of the kind of the feedback or the area that have been highlighting were not considered, also I would recommend really the consultants to think about them and also provide a recommendation of what may be considered, what should be considered in the development of partnership with different education institutions to make sure the program ran successfully. And one of the aspects, for example, is about the proper configuration and the domain name that have to be correctly done. I don't know if that was part of the was considered in the data collection, but again, from your expert point of view, you can provide a kind of recommendation on what need to be considered for those to be done. And also, I would like to come back to Xavier's feedback of really something he highlighted, which is very important, interactivity. Please, if you have, also you can highlight on something on interactivity. What kind of interaction is enabled by those learning management system? Is it enough? Given that, yes, we talk about comprehensive sexuality education should be highly interactive course. Do those learning management system enable interactivity at a high level of degree as expected in those courses? And if not, also provide recommendation of what can be done, so that those courses delivered by those learning management systems are highly interactive as expected or intended. So let's move quickly to the reviewer from the headquarters. Sally, if you can hear me. And if you are ready, Sally, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Bernard. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you very much. And this is the floor is yours for your feedback.
Thank you, Bernard, and thank you very much, colleagues, for having me in this meeting, and thank you for the very clear presentation. I agree that the report is very interesting and well written, readable report. So I really thank you for that. Like Xavier, I'm not an expert in this area at all, and it's really helped me to understand not only what we mean by a learning management system, but also better consider the potential for these systems in the Sub-Saharan African region and beyond, I suppose. For those of you who don't know me, I'm work in the headquarters of UNESCO, based in Paris. I kind of echo the feedback that's been given by colleagues, and I won't repeat that. I'm particularly interested to hear more about the findings from the beneficiaries, from the pre-service and inter-service teachers themselves. I don't think that was covered significantly in the presentation. And for me, when we are asking the question, the bigger picture question, which I totally agree with Xavier, which is this really the way to go forward in this region using this information technology for training teachers? I think asking the beneficiaries about their experience is absolutely critical to answer that question, and to answer the question about really how effective is this technology in training teachers when we're thinking about the outcomes that we want to see in teachers who then move forward to hopefully improve the delivery of health education and of comprehensive sexuality education. And I say this because my understanding from talking to colleagues in the region and ministry officials in the region is that, particularly when we're talking about in-service teachers, there's perhaps some limitations in terms of access to technology, as well as the kind of digital literacy needed to use these kinds of platforms for training. And I think, we really have to think about those really real limitations in the region before we invest a lot in moving forward with this kind of work. I'm interested in even the kind of level of ownership of smartphones of these teachers, the access they have to the internet and so on. And I'm interested in that respect also to hear, based on what we heard from the beneficiaries, what are the recommendations when it comes to working with LMSs when we're targeting pre-service teachers versus when we're targeting in-service teachers? Because I would perhaps hypothesize, I might be wrong, that it might be more useful and efficient to use this kind of technology with pre-service teachers. I'm not sure about that. So with that, I think that I need to really agree with Xavier in saying that we have to be realistic that LMSs are not the only solution. And given the challenges that you note in the report, both from the desk review and from your findings about the use of LMSs, obviously there's lots of positives as well, but given the challenges, how would you respond in terms of overall recommending the use of LMSs for training teachers in this region in the future? Is this really a good investment? I don't want to put colleagues on the spot, but I'd like to say to you now, if you have a 2-minute elevator pitch to say, based on these findings, we would say this is how you should move forward in the region, I'd be really keen to hear that. And I'd be particularly keen to hear that in the context of where we are with the impact of COVID as well. And perhaps that may have changed the way we need to think about how we're reaching and training teachers. And that might mean that we need to think more about the use of this kind of technology. But again, I would be a little bit hesitant given the barriers that we face in many countries in terms of access to such technology. So I hope I haven't thrown a spanner in the works, so to speak, there, but I think it's a really important question that we need to ask ourselves as UNESCO when we are looking to move forward and invest in these kinds of improvements to the training of teachers. Bernard, I will be happy to send through a summary of my feedback in writing to you by email after the meeting as well. Over.
All right, thank you very much, Sally, for the feedback you provided. I think there's what I have seen, or you highlighted, as you highlighted it, but also the Harare office highlighted it. It's really taking learning management system as probably not the only option which is there. And what is critical on the part of consultants to formulate a recommendation on how they can be used effectively, considering those challenges that prevail in Africa. So again, I would like to ask participants, I can still see some participants who still have their cameras on. Please, if can you switch off your cameras, that would be helpful. And I think, Peter, if you can hear me, Peter, if you can turn your camera off, that would be helpful. Peter? Peter, can you hear me? Oh, Christine, you said you can mute them, but can you also turn their camera off on your side? Peter, I can still see your video is on, your camera on. So if you click on there's an icon that says turn camera on or off, that would be helpful. So otherwise, let's continue and probably open the floor for different comments from different participants as well. And please, the floor is open. If there's anyone who have a question or need clarification or have comment among participants, please, the floor is open. You can raise your hand. And to raise your hand, you can see 3 dots on the screen. If you click on them and you go up, there's an icon that says raise your hand, raise hand. Please click on it. We'll see that you have a question. Anyone want to add? Anyone with a comment or a question? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Jean-Claude? Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Nice, Bernard.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So does anyone have any comments, any additional comments? Yes, I can see a hand from Diallo Abu. Please go ahead and make your comment or ask your question.
I would like to ask a question. It's about just a precision. I would like to know the inspection de l'enseignement préscolaire et primaire that they have surveyed. What is it located in Ivory Coast? Because we have many inspections in Ivory Coast, many kind of this kind of institution in our country, but saying that the inspection de l'enseignement préscolaire et primaire, without giving the name, we don't know exactly what is it. It can be one of the Daokro, as I say, which is a town in Cote d'Ivoire. It can be another town. We'd like to know exactly which inspection it was. Thank you. So
Jean-Claude, go ahead and clarify that. But I think it's in Daokro, if I remember well. I read the report. But Jean-Claude, please.
Yes, thank you, Diaro, and thank you, Bernard, for the floor. It's actually in Cote d'Ivoire, there have been so many inspections de renseignement that have provided, that have responded to our survey, but the one which is considered now is the one for Daokolo. Because they have provided different institutions with different names, but we realize that they may be the same institutions, maybe scattered across the country, but the ones that really provided enough data to be able to analyze is the one with the name Daoklo.
Okay, Diallo, is your answer?
Okay,
your
thank
question answered?
Yes, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then you can lower your hand. Does anyone else have any question? Diallo, you can also click again to lower your hand. Thank you very much. So any another question, Diallo? Do you have another question?
No, I don't have any question. I have some trouble with my.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So does anyone else have any questions or any comment?
Any other question? Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any. Maybe wrong, but I don't see any other hand raised. And probably we can, if there's no one else who have any question, we can. Yes.
I had just a question around WhatsApp, if that's okay.
Yes, please. But who is speaking? Please tell us who you are. I cannot see you on the screen.
No problem.
Is it Sandy?
Sandisile Chuma from the
Yes, I can see. Okay, please go ahead.
Thanks, Bernard, and many thanks to the consultant team for the report. I just had a question around the use of WhatsApp as to support teaching and learning. My understanding of the use or the terms of use for that WhatsApp business APK are that it requires very, very high levels of engagement in order for you to continue to use it. So you're not permitted by WhatsApp to just send push notifications or push messages to users who subscribe to your service. So were you able to take into consideration how resource intensive it would be for an institution to use WhatsApp, given the fact that they require consistent engagement from users in order for the users to remain subscribed to the service? I think it's a really interesting solution if you can maintain the required levels of engagement, but I think that it does need some thinking through in terms of your instructional design and how you design the program so that it keeps a very, very high level of engagement from users in order to keep it running. I'd be very, very interested to see if you had any information on that and what the implications could be if we were to consider some kind of WhatsApp-based teaching and learning service for teacher training. Thank you, and over.
Thank you very much, Sandy, for that question, which is very important. And probably I'm going to give the floor to the consultant to quickly address that. But please take like 1 minute, then you will proceed to the summary of recommendation you have noted, keeping in mind that all those recommendations will be compiled and again sent to you. Jean-Claude or your team, please, can you quickly react on that? And I think that's very important recommendation we would like to see in the report, so that once we go there and go for it, we know what we have to expect. And yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, host, for the floor again. And I hope maybe Christina will come to this. But my quick just answer or reaction to this question is that yes, she's right that. This WhatsApp or even other social media related learning platforms, there's a need to have to consider a pedagogical aspect on how we design the learning process through this kind of social media, because there are so many other activities that are not based on learning that happens on social media. So then how do we make sure that students are concentrating and also engaging highly on these social media related platforms such as WhatsApp? It's an issue of pedagogical aspect to consider. For example, one example I can give is the way you can maybe
Jean-Claude, if I clarify also, one of the issues Sandy highlighted is about protecting the users so that the message they receive are those intended for learning, and some may be beyond the control of even people like pedagogues who may be supporting learners. It's about the WhatsApp owners sending different messages, including promotion messages to learners, which may not be relevant to their learning. So if you address that as well, because that can be a distraction rather than that can be a distraction that make the quality of learning poor. I mean, those messages which are not related that keep coming. Yeah.
That was actually.
May I ask everyone to mute, please? Ture, if you can mute your Ture. I can still hear echoes.
Hello.
Christine, can you hear me?
Yes.
Christine, just a second. Just
Okay.
So there are people still have their microphones open. Please mute them. All right. So, but then I give the floor to Jean-Claude and Christine.
Yeah, I think I wanted just to still focus on this pedagogical aspect of designing the learning process as far as these social media like WhatsApp are concerned. One issue that we explored was to look at how maybe we can design a learning process using like gamification so to try to highly engage learners through these kind of platforms by using, for example, badges and certifications so that they can concentrate on the learning, and then also design a learning by using some timelines. Like people cannot learn for the whole day. Maybe you can design a learning process during a particular period so that for the other period they can go for their usual activities on those social media. So I think gamifications using like badges and some certificate can be one strategy from a pedagogical perspective. So I think Christina maybe can reflect on how we were interested in understanding the infrastructure setting of these kind of platforms. Christina, over to you.
Thank you, Jean-Claude. I just want to compliment on the technical side of WhatsApp platform. WhatsApp platform has an API. For example, the way this one works, and it's a common way of working when you integrate a learning management system which is online, there is an API that connects that back-end platform.
Maybe Christine, if you explain, because not everyone is expert here in ICT, if you explain what an API is, that would be helpful.
Okay, so basically we have a back-end platform, any platform we used to know, like LMS, could be Moodle or any other. And between that platform, there is an application programming interface. That's what we call API, which connect or integrate that platform with WhatsApp under a specific number, just like a phone number we used to know. And the user, the learner, will be accessing the learning, the materials from the platform through that API, the connector. And this limit any other advertisement, any other strange message, any other communication other different from what the learning management system shall provide to the users. So there won't be any issue with like a different type of messages and so on to that particular number. Thank you.
Over to you, Bernard. Can you hear us?
All right, thank you very much, Christine, for that contribution you made. And we quickly move to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Bernard.
All right, so let's move quickly to the summary of the feedback you have collected. I will give you a maximum 5 minutes. So let's shorten it to 5 minutes quickly. But you will receive details of those feedback in the document I will email to you. But before we do so, let me check if Yumiko have been able to join this session.
Yes, I have been here. I'm really looking forward to hearing the summary. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Yumiko. I couldn't see the list of participants, but apparently you could not see all of it. So now let's move to Technology Solution Maker Ltd. Would you please summarize the feedback you have received in about 5 minutes? Then we will close this session with the closing remarks from Yumiko, Director of ICBA. And thank you very much, Yumiko, for being here. We are very happy that you were able to join. All right, Jean-Claude, over to you for the summary of constructive feedback.
Yes. Thank you, Bernard. And I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Dr. Matthias, to provide a summary of these sessions and the feedback. Matthias, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm going to give you the short feedback that I considered through the discussions and through the interventions of some of the members in this meeting or participants. All the participants, what they did was to thank Technology Solution Makers Ltd consultants. I start with the intervention of the presenter from Harare, who read the report. He said that the report is very constructive, and the feedback was also very constructive. And he said that this research is comprehensive, and he came to the fact that the WhatsApp, which is being used in one of the institutions in Kenya, was very impressive as an LMS, according to him. And he said that this give opportunity to the scale in other country to use WhatsApp in LMS. Of course, from what the last participant said, is to try to limit the use of WhatsApp. Otherwise, we can get unwanted or destructive messages while we are looking only for learning and teaching. That person said that the role of instructional designers are very conversant in LMS implementation, and they need to have some skills in teaching. And he has also said that the instructional designers need to be helped because they are also helping content designers to improve those work. And also in the particular work, they need also to be trained in the comprehensive sexuality education. He has also said that some institutions are still behind while others are moving fast. This is in terms of technology, and he was proposing that we try to, where possible, to combine some institutions so that some can help others. And he was also recommending that we need to present in our final report some case-by-case recommendation instead of being remaining general. He has also brought some recommendations. He's saying that we need to develop community of practices where now we can try to encourage the twinning or the pairing of institutions that are doing, and not to ask each institution to embark on this activity. The second person, Xavier, he's also starting by saying that the report was very interesting and useful, and it was highly visible, and he appreciated the format. And he said that we have to consider in the conclusion to be taken with caution. He said that we need to consider the conclusion with caution because some persons were not interviewed. And this is also indicated in our limitations that have been presented because some persons didn't respond, or some other person gave half of the answer that were expected. So we are going to consider this in our final report. There is one aspect that where he was insisting to consider the interactivity of the LMS when we are considering the comprehensive sexuality education. And I think this is in general for every LMS, it has to be interactive, and we are also going to make clear this aspect in our report. He said also that in Burkina Faso, we are only considering 2 institutions, or we have selected only 2 institutions, so we need to explain deeply how those institutions are the best in that countries, where now we have many which are now having LMSs. In terms of the challenges and the risk, Xavier asked the question like, are LMSs are good ideas at all for training CSE, Comprehensive Sexuality Education? And this question also has been asked by other participants, and I think the answer can be yes or no, depending on the context, and it depends on how we are now trying to implementing these LMSs, and also it depends also on the technology aspects available in that country. It depends also on how the teachers are trained, but we can say that it is not only one solution, and I think this will be also highlighted in our final report, because we need also to consider how the teachers are trained. When I come back to the intervention of Jose from ICBA Dakar, he is one who has a very big experience in LMS administration, and his intervention started also by appreciating the report, where we are trying to identify LMSs in the 24 countries, and where we are coming out with a guidance so that we can select the best one to host the program of CSE. However, he tried to give some comments as administrator of LMS. He's saying that we need to address more key actors in the LMS ecosystem. And I think what he has said about the administrator, the technical staff, instructional designers, teachers, where we have pre and in-service teachers, all these aspects have been considered in our report. And maybe he wants that we highlight more on their different roles. He's also bringing some technical aspects which are very important, and those technical aspects have also led us, when we were designing the questionnaire, to see the available infrastructure in the different institutions. He wants that we precise the types of software to be used. We have to precise as they are open source or not, and this has been also it has been considered in our study. The bandwidth as well, we have considered it. The number of concurrent users, this aspect also has to be considered. And as he said, the element that is going to be considered, or that is going to be recommended, needs to have these technical aspects so that they cannot face some challenges during their use. We have also, as according to
Matthias, if you may, if you wrap up in 1 minute, you may focus on probably the comments that are recommending you to consider. So what you need to consider in the report, and how we will be addressing them. Yes, please, again, over to you in 1 minute, please.
Thank you. He said that we need also to consider the content is in many formats, and we have also to see that learners are monitored in the course, and this has to be done through interoperability of different LMSs and other tools. He has talked also about the evaluation and certification, how to prevent the cheating, how to deal with the recognition and the graduation, and also how to make the domain name to be used. When I come back to Sally, he also showed some satisfaction about the report, and he said that we need to consider the beneficiary who are now going to use these LMSs. And her remarks are almost the same as the previous one. And he's also saying that we need to consider the challenges that in-service and pre-service teachers can also
meet, and these have also been done. And if I go to the questions asked by Diallo and Sandy's, the question asked by Diallo has been responded. Sorry, Sandy has been responded, and also the one asked by Diallo has been also responded. I think this is the different observations, questions, and comments made by the participant in this meeting. And the team from technology solution makers has now to sit and improve by considering the different comments, the final report. Thank you. Hello, Bernard.
Hello. Thank you, Matthias. Yeah, thank you, Matthias, for the summary. I was saying I can see someone who is in the sharing screen. I don't know if this is the technology solution maker consultant sharing the screen, but at the same time the email. I don't know. And Diallo, if you can switch off your camera, please. All right. And now let's move quickly to the closing remarks by Yumiko. And of course, before Yumiko's closing remarks, let me highlight that, again, detailed feedback will be emailed to you in the next couple of days. All the feedback from different teams, different offices will be collected and compiled and then emailed to you so that you consider them. You cross-check with what you have noted, but also consider you address all those comments in the preparation of the final report.